Welcome to the Idaho BnB Guys podcast. I am
Woo!
Brantley Brooks. This is my pal Brandon Pelfrey, where we talk about all things Airbnb, VRBO, short-term rentals in the most beautiful, the number one state of Idaho.
That's right.
Uh, welcome. How you doing, Brandon?
I'm doing so good.
Let's go.
Yeah, how about you?
Fantastic. Fantastic. I'm ready to talk about your story today and how Airbnbs has affected your life and kind of what your goals are moving into the future at this point.
Yeah.
So tell us, how did you get first introduced to Airbnbs?
So really it started a couple years ago. We had some friends that they had a cool little house near downtown Boise that they had converted their detached garage into a studio apartment and they were renting out on Airbnb. Um, while they were doing that, like we knew it was happening, so like, and I was fascinated by it. So I always was asking him questions and like trying to pick his brain on like how it worked and how that how good of an investment it was. Um, and he traveled for work a lot, so he's like, hey, why don't next time we're out of town, why don't you guys just like manage everything for us, take care of the cleanings and help the guests out, all that. And so we started doing that. And then they ended up moving over to the other side of the state to Idaho Falls, and we became the full-time managers of it. And so we kind of like we stumbled into it, um, but we did so because we loved it. It was fun, and we felt like it was something that we were good at and that we could kind of make a business out of, is what we eventually realized. So yeah, it kind of started accidentally almost, and then just kind of snowballed up to where now we have a handful of short-term rentals that we manage here in the Treasure Valley. So all across Boise, Meridian, Nampa, Caldwell area, is the areas that we service with our property management company. Um, and yeah, we do the whole, front to back servicing for property management, where our clients, um, basically, I guess, to take a step back, our goal, what we want as a business, is we want to make short-term rentals an accessible investment vehicle for all investors. Basically, we think that it's a great option for investors, but there's some serious barriers to entry. Um, One being, a lot of people just don't know about Airbnb. They don't know about short-term rentals.
It's
Um,
such a new thing. It's such
yeah,
like your
yeah,
parents don't, they're not like all in on Airbnb yet. Obviously, a lot of people are going that way, even older people. But yeah, it's such a new idea.
yeah. A lot of people, young and old, most people have heard of Airbnb. Not everybody has stayed in one, and I think everybody has questions about it. And so that's the first barrier to entry. The second one really is, it just I think investors realize that you can get a lot more return, a lot higher rent revenue doing short-term rentals than you can long-term rentals. But they also realize that there's a lot more work involved with it. There's a lot more legwork up front to get it going. You have to furnish it and everything. And then there's also a lot more work in between, where you're having to communicate with your guests a lot more than you would with regular tenants. Plus, you're, you know, our properties, they get a professional cleaning in between each stay, and that's kind of the standard for the industry. And so I think those things kind of scare people away, but what our goal is we want to make it as passive of an investment as any other investment in our clients' portfolios. We want to make it an accessible investment vehicle. So that's really the goal. So that's why, we do everything. We help from the beginning all the way to the end of getting their listing started, helping them know what they need to get to put in their units to make them work. We create the listing for them, make sure that it pops, that it stands out above and beyond the other listings out there. and then handling all the day-to-day stuff, guest communications, any issues that arise, handling all the cleanings, the whole kit and caboodle.
My dad manages, my properties, but you're sure selling me on making this. But and the other thing too that I want to point out with Pelfrey Management is that, I mean, obviously you hear of like the big companies, Vacasa. What are some of the other big ones out there?
Oh, there's I know there's one called Red Door. There's one called gosh, now that I'm on the spot, like I
But
can't.
the big ones, yeah. I mean, the big ones, they're charging 40%
Yeah,
for
I've seen up to 40% on
up to
them.
40%. I've seen 45%,
Oh,
which is
okay.
absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
There's no reason, at least in my mind, there's no reason that they should be taking that big of a cut. Obviously, you have some advantages with them too. They have a bigger network, but with Airbnb, with VRBO, every single person has access to everyone else. So it's not like I don't think there's that many advantages to going with a
They
big.
don't have the secret sauce that nobody else
Exactly.
gets. Yeah.
Exactly. And you can see exactly what they're putting in their listings too. So it's
Yep.
not like, I mean, it's all public information.
Yep. There's no secrets there. So yeah, I mean, we like to differentiate ourselves first and foremost with just, what I mentioned before. But yeah, we have a different pricing model that I think makes sense for a lot of people. So one other thing about our business is we specialize in town short-term rentals. So we personally don't, at this point, we don't really deal with um, true vacation rentals. Everything we have is here in town, whether it be, in Boise near downtown near BSU, or like out in the suburbs in Meridian. Um, it's all pretty much just, like just homes in neighborhoods, single family homes for the most part. Um, and so we feel like it's a different ball game. It requires a different kind of work, than those true vacation rentals. And also, we definitely find that the guests that we attract and the reasons why they're coming to stay at our properties is very different than those true vacation rentals. And so it makes sense to have a different business model and a different pricing model.
Hmm. So off the top of your head, what are some of the main differences, would you say, between like a vacation rental property, such as obviously I do Island Park, which is up by Yellowstone. You've got McCall over there. What else is around Boise that would be considered like a vacation rental? Obviously, you have Driggs as well.
Yeah,
Uh,
Driggs, Sun Valley, McCall,
mhm.
Cascade, Donnelly, up like Sandpoint and Coeur d'Alene area. So those would definitely be true vacation rentals. And then also outside of the state, you got like, the waterfront, like beach houses and stuff.
So,
Um,
what would your advice be to someone in Boise or someone in Southeast Idaho that's looking to get into their first Airbnb? Would you recommend going the vacation rental route? Would you recommend doing the more of the in-town Airbnb? What are your thoughts on that?
that's a good question. I don't know. I think they're both good investment options. Obviously, you can get really good returns with both of them. I think the in-town short terms are going to be they're going to have like more stability. There's a lot less fluctuation between the peak seasons and the low seasons, when compared to, like a cabin up in Island Park. But also at the same time, like those cabins in McCall and in Island Park during the summertime, they are renting out at like sky high rates, and huge high demand, and you're just not going to get that with the in towns. Um, but that being said, I think it comes back to what your goals are as an investor, and what I think the biggest thing is you gotta go with whatever expertise you have access to, whether that be your own, or somebody on your team like a property manager, or a real estate agent. That's that's the biggest thing. You got to have somebody on your team who knows the market and will be able to give you good guidance on what's going to make a good investment or not. Um, obviously, if I think it's very helpful, very beneficial to have somebody who's already in the short-term game to at least help you get started on it, like somebody like a property manager or an agent who's familiar. So I think those things are more important than necessarily choosing like between in-town short-term rental or a cabin up in the mountains.
Okay. Totally
Yeah.
agree.
What do you think, Brantley?
I think you nailed it. I think you absolutely nailed it. I think it really is what you know the most. I wouldn't go out. I live in Rexburg in Southeast Idaho. I'm not going to just look at Boise and buy some random property and just cross my fingers. I know Island Park, I know Rexburg, and I'm going to go with what I know. And I know a lot of people that know these markets as well. So I'm definitely going to go with what I know.
Yeah, yeah,
Not I would
likewise.
branch out though. Yeah.
Yeah, likewise. And one I think one key thing to point out there is like maybe you don't know those markets super well yet, like the back of your hand. There are people who do, people who would love to help, and where it would be a mutually beneficial relationship. So I think the place to start is getting to know the players in the area, and building out a team in that way, building out a network. And they're gonna be your key to getting into those markets.
100%. I can't tell you how many realtors I called, I sat down with, I went and they showed me a house, but literally I went through like 10 of them and they were horrible. Like with all due respect, but like there's a big difference between someone who does it part-time versus someone who's really
Oh
good at
yeah, oh
and
yeah. It's night and day.
minding.
If you've experienced it before, you know exactly what Brantley's talking about here.
Yeah, 100%. So okay, so catch me up. So where are you at in your story? So obviously you're doing Pelfrey management.
Yep.
You're managing quite a few properties. That's kind of starting to gain a lot of traction. Really.
Yeah. 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 It's well, I think the short term market in the Boise area, I think that is really probably what's gained the most traction. Um, there's a lot of demand both for the true short term rentals where people are coming for a 1, 2, 3, 4 night stay, whatever. Um, but also people who need a place to be for like multiple weeks into multiple months. Um, and so yeah, it's growing. The market's growing. In turn, our business is growing. Um, and we are looking to continue to grow. We only have a handful of properties. Like right now, we're only actively managing like 4 of them, but we have like I think like 6 in our portfolio. Um, so yeah, it's nothing huge yet, but definitely growing, and it's growing quickly.
Oh yeah. Let me ask you this, because you obviously you know the Boise market really well. Obviously, the market is insane right now. We're seeing people doubling the price of a property they purchased within the last couple of years. Like
Yep.
this market is insane. So let me ask you this. Can you still the traditional method of buying a rental property and renting it out for a year lease or more of a long-term type rental, can you still make money that way, or is pretty much everyone buying rental properties and doing Airbnb? Is that the only way to get cash flow these days?
Um, well, we actually, so we manage short terms. We also have long-term rentals, like true traditional rentals in our own portfolio. And I think you can, especially cash buyers, they can always get some sort of return. Um, but definitely the returns and the margins are getting smaller. I will say that the rental market, like the rents that long-term renters are able to get right now, those are going up. They're trailing the housing market, but they are catching up, which is helpful for everybody. Um, all investors involved, whether you be on the short term side or the long term side. Um, that being said, I think you can still find deals. Like you got to get a bit more creative. You got to accept that you're not going to have as many home runs as you did a few years ago, but um, you can still get some deals. But that's why understanding the short-term rental market is so helpful, because it just gives you another card to play. It's another tool in your back pocket that you can use. Like when you're looking at properties, you can evaluate them from both standpoints. Not every property is going to work as a short-term rental, um, but some of them will, and it's good to know that. Good to know, how they would look, because that could turn an investment from something that might break even to something that will actually get you the return that you need for your money.
Hmm. Yeah, I like that too. Where you always want to have multiple exits or multiple ways to cash flow a
Yeah.
property.
Yep.
You can't go in with only one option. If that option fails, you're done.
Yeah.
Don't want to do that. For example, so I've got an apartment complex with 16 units, and if we keep renting it out as a monthly cash flow or like a more of a long-term thing, then it basically breaks even. We barely make any money. But we're starting to experiment with doing it an Airbnb. And we're gonna do one this summer. If it goes well, then we're gonna add probably 3 more next summer. And if those go well, then it's definitely the cash flow is going to be there. And
Yep.
so I like properties like that, especially in this market. I feel like that's almost like the best case scenario.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So yeah, I think you can find all sorts of deals out there, but definitely, especially going into the future, like you got to know the short-term game. And you got to have connections on that side of things. You got to have that as an option. Um, if if you're an investor.
do you think people should hold on to their cash? If let's say there's somebody that's like, okay, the market's too hot right now. I've got, 20, 30, 40 grand, whatever it is that I'd like to get a property, but the market's so high. I'm just gonna hang on to my cash. I'm gonna wait for the market to dip, and then I'm gonna buy. What would you say to that person?
Well, I'm obviously not the most experienced investor. I don't know everything.
That's fine.
When no, I'm sure anybody listening to me right now gets the gist of that. That I'm definitely still learning. Um, so that being said, I've heard so many people say, and I've experienced this for myself. It's just it doesn't work to time the market. You don't want to time the market. You want to use good sense and have good bearings on what's going on and how to find good deals, what good deals look like in each market. But I don't think trying to time the market it works, because when I first started looking to get into real estate a few years ago, I was that's what I was constantly asking, like, oh man, like $200,000 for a duplex, like that's a little pricey. Fast forward to today, and you're not going to find a good duplex for anywhere less than 400,000 in Boise area, probably closer to the 500,000 mark. And so, and nobody knows what the future is going to hold. Like, yes, the market will probably dip at some point, but it could keep going up and to the right. Um, Nobody really knows. And so I think the best thing to do is stop worrying about trying to time the market and find deals that cash flow. If you follow those basic principles of real estate investing and making sure that your deals are cash flowing deals, then it doesn't matter what the market's doing. Like take whatever gain and benefit you can get from the appreciation, but um, that's something that's out of your control. Um, and so yeah, I would just make sure you're buying for appreciation. I don't know, or sorry, for cash flow. Buy for cash flow, not
Yeah,
appreciation. What would you say?
cash flow is like the hedge against everything, right?
Right.
It's like the best defense right there.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're hoping and praying that you'll get the appreciation. You will get the tax benefits. You will get the loan pay down, but the cash flow is kind of how you can judge if a deal is going to be good or not right off the bat.
Yep.
But funny story. So my buddy's a friend of my buddy's. So friend of my buddy's. He 3 years ago he thought the market had just hit its peak, and he sold his house. He's like, let's freaking go. I just made a bucket of money. And he's like, I'm gonna live in my trailer and go and live in like campgrounds until the market comes down. And then
No way.
what keep kept going up, and it's like it's just been insane. He's
And
still
he lost his purchasing power in the market because
yep.
he cashed out.
He would have made probably hundreds of thousands of dollars more.
And you know what we're seeing right now is, I, in my personal opinion, I feel like a lot of what we're seeing in the market, both in real estate and otherwise, is driven by, there's a lot of inflation, a lot of funky things going on in our economy right now. But assets that maintain true value, that's what you want to hold. That's what you want to have. You want to have, like, real estate. It's more valuable than ever right now. People need it. People want it. And it's gonna, cash is gonna have inflation, no matter what. At all times, it's always gonna be, in a cycle of inflation. Real estate is pretty much, like, there may be bubbles, but it's always an asset that's gonna be in demand.
And on top of that, with the interest rates being so low, grab one of those interest rates and you're going to be fine long term. As long as the inflation keeps going up, your payments always staying the same. But inflation will go up, which will cause rents to go up, which will cause that gap between what you owe and what you're paying every month and what you're bringing in, which is your cash flow. That's going to keep getting bigger and bigger as the inflation keeps going up. So that's why I think, obviously we don't want any type of hyperinflation, but for those who have rental properties, it's really not the worst thing in the world, because I feel like your cash flow will keep going up.
Yeah, for sure.
There you go. So tell me, what are your goals, real quick? And we got to wrap this thing up here pretty soon, but tell me what your goals are. Obviously, you're doing pelfrey management. You have your own properties that you're doing. What's kind of like, if you could look ahead 10 years from now
Oh
and
boy.
look back, or maybe 5 years, if that's giving you a headache.
5 years from now, I would love to just build up Pelfrey Management more. I think we offer a really good service to the market. It's something that the market needs, and we have a lot of fun doing it. It's a ton of fun building the business and figuring it all out and building a team. It's been a blast. And so I would love to continue building, building upon what we have. If the pace, I mean, I know that we're still small, but year over year, we're kind of like doubling, on a compounding basis. And so if that could continue year over year for the next 5 years, I would be thrilled with that. That'd be super fun. Um, Also, I would love to start expanding my own investment portfolio. Um, I feel like it's in its infancy now, but I see my future self in 5 years having a good number of more doors, that I actually own. And and yeah, and I would love to. I have a lot of ideas, a lot of shiny objects out there in real estate. But I would really love to get into some bigger stuff like you at Brantley, like, like some apartment complexes. I think that would just be so cool to be involved with. That'd be a ton of fun.
Let's go. You're gonna get it.
One day.
Yeah, I know you will. But awesome. Well, thanks so much, Brandon. Thanks
Yeah.
for all seven of you that have listened to this. If we get that.
Hey, if we can get 7 people to listen to this, including our wives,
Oh my
it's
gosh. I'll
done.
be pumped.
Done
This is
deal.
the first episode. This is history that you are witnessing right now. The first episode of the Idaho BnB Guys podcast.
That's right. And
I,
and it's really going to take off after we reverse roles here on the next episode, and when I interview you because you've got a lot more stuff going on, a lot more
Yeah.
experience than I do. And honestly, I mean, if we're being honest, you're involved in a cooler part of the short-term market. But
That's true. The vacation rental market is sexy. I'll be honest.
yep.
I do want to say though, if you guys have questions about like, especially the Boise area, honestly, I talked to Brandon too about those apartments in Rexburg, and he gave me so much good information. So give him a call, give Pelfrey Management a call, and they can talk about Airbnbs, consult with you if it's a good idea, if the location's good, if the property itself is a good idea. Give them a call. Like he's going to be able to help you.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah, we do that. We do it all the time. We that's one of my favorite parts of building a business, like I said, is connecting with people. I love hopping on a call and talking shop about the short-term market here in Boise. So if you have questions, if you're curious, give me a call, connect with me, call, text, email, Bigger Pockets, LinkedIn, Facebook, let's connect.
okay. Until next week, we'll see you guys later.